Good evening, morning, afternoon, depending what it is where you're watching this. Tonight we are going to be tying a little Conehead bunny leech. They're a newer pattern for me. I've given them a go here and there, but swing and streamers is something I want to focus on a bit more this winter. Pretty simple. As you can see, there's a little, if I turn around a bit, you can just sort of see a little bit of the flash in there, hopefully. But otherwise, beyond that, all we've got in this is the Conehead. You can see there's a few lead wraps underneath, the Semperfli eye stuffing, and the brown bunny. Why it's called a Leech pattern, I think here probably more going to be taken as a sort of little bait fish, I guess, or a little just a little fish swimming along the bottom of the water. But they're a lot of fun to tie, so I'll get going and go through it, and hopefully it's a pattern that works well for you. Alright, so I've actually been tying a few of these tonight, pre-prepared some of the hooks with the cones and the lead wire underneath, but there's, you could do between 12 and 18 wraps underneath, and then go back about halfway with a second layer, and you just want to push that up and underneath that cone head. Just get that nice and settled in there, and then we'll just get our thread base on. Now the hook I'm using is a Kamasan B175, and it's in a size number 4. It's yeah, I really like them as a hook. I haven't actually used them too often in this size. It's only since I've started playing with streamers I really started giving them a go. Usually I use them in smaller sizes for nymphs, for pheasant tails and heron coppers, hare's ears, all that stuff. Actually turned out at this size they're working, at least as far as tying on, they're working really well. And we'll see how we go when I can start putting them in front of some fish and see what sort of fun we can have there. Oops. Watch out for that hook point, because you don't want to snap your thread. Again, just getting that thread base in there. And just get rid of your tag end. Right, next part, I want to get the dubbing loop tied in before I put my tail on. So it's a bit hard to show the way I have the camera set up here. If you go back to the video for the CDC nymph bomb that I done a couple of weeks ago, I go through it a bit more, but essentially you want to take your first bit of thread, pull it straight down, hook your finger in it, pull it back up, and we just start tying it in. And I try to give myself more than what I probably need, but that's just to get rid of having to try to do another one. Because once you've got that bit of bunny tied in, it is a bit of a nightmare trying to get them tied, as it keeps wanting to flop over. But once that's in, we can move on to the next step of tying our tail in. Alrighty, keeping it simple colour wise with this one, just using some brown rabbit zonker strips, or bunny strips, whatever you want to call them. And you want to measure it out, so the tail, generally I'm looking for it to go roughly about a similar length as the hook shank back. So now I'm going to tie it in right about there. So I want to get it roughly about there. I'm going to snip it off and shape it up. I'll show you that in a second. Right, once you've worked out your length of your tail, give yourself just a little bit extra to have some wiggle room for when you're tying it in. It gives you some room for trimming it off as well. Then you want to just be very certain of your tying point. I just want it on just where it starts to go into the bend of the hook, and underneath there you'll see I've cut that into a little triangle, and that's going to give it a nice tapered finish to the tail of your fly. And just double check again, just want it about the length of that hook shank, and then just part the hair for your tie-in point, which will be just a little bit long there, be right here. If you just pull it back, you're just going to be left with the the hide of the rabbit, bunny. You can just tie it in nice and hard, don't need to be shy. I'm using Semperfli Nano silk again, and you can really put some strength down on that and really tie it in hard. Yeah, there you got your tail put in there, and I did go well and truly over what I needed there, but we'll cross that bridge as we get to the end. It gives me some room just to snip it off. At the end of the day, if you've got more than less, then you find yourself not coming up short, which is quite good, getting these tied in. And generally, for where I want to tie it in at this end, I use this lead as a sort of marker point. I know that's going to give me more than enough room when I tie the collar in, which we'll go over shortly. But first of all, before that, we need to put the underbody in, which we're going to use some of the Semperfli ice dubbing, which I'll show you shortly. Alright, ice dubbing. This gives it a bit of flash and colour to it. You can, if you want, tie off some flash underneath the tail as well. I've done them with the crystal flash from Semperfli 2, just for under there, which gives it a bit of flash under. I've found the ice dub being quite long fibres, it tends to hang out the back anyway, and does quite a job there. But they come in all sorts of colours, as you can kind of see in the background there, with myriad of blends, little sort of peacocky colours there. I'll be using bronze. That goes quite well with the brown bunny there. So what we want to do, we've tied our little loop earlier. I like to put a little bit of wax in there just to hold it in. And it just helps that ice dubbing stick in between them. And I'll try not to make too much of a meal of this, but it does get busy, not busy, messy. Yeah, you can't really see my desk at the moment, but it is absolutely covered in stray strands of this stuff at the moment. I've been trying a few different colour variations and odds and ends, and it's a good way to get a few hot colours into the mix that you're getting ready to go on in there. Where you can see a few purples and reds and greens, but that's what it is. Anyway, once you've got them all sandwiched in between your two threads of your dubbing loop, I like using these little shepherd's tools, which you can kind of just see there, and we're just going to spin that up. It takes a few seconds to get going to begin with, but once it starts moving, sooner or later, there you go. And we'll just keep on spinning There's a bit of steam there, give it another little twist, and the weight of it just keeps it spinning. Just ticking away there. And that's going to get it all wrapped up in between those two strands of your tying thread. And then take whatever tool you've got to pull it back out so you get all those strands hanging out the back of it, but you'll still have plenty wrapped around that loop, which is going to give you a bit more of a solid core to it as well. This can take a little bit of a process, but you just keep ticking away, and some's going to fall out, the majority of it will stay though. Once you've done that, you can just leave it in your shepherd's hook tool to try to wrap it around, but personally, if I can get it to stick, I prefer using a hackle ply. I just feel like I've got a bit more control over it, and I apologise if it drifts in and out of control here, but just I'll try not to knock the camera over as well. But yeah, just want to keep wrapping this. We're going to give it another brush to get all those fibres brushed out once we're in there too. I just want to keep it building up. I'm going to try to keep it sort of as much as you can even, and don't try to bulk up the back too much more. You want it sort of so it's a bit fatter at the front, but it's all good as you go forward. And just try to pre-nose back a bit. And just keep in mind you've got that keep that space for the collar as well. Now I've got a fair bit extra and I want to fatten that up near the front a bit more, so I'll just go back a little bit and then come forward again. I think I've actually nailed it right on the head with the right amount of thread there. And I've counter-wrapped that too, so gone a different way, opposite way to the way I've been wrapping my thread. It just makes it a little bit easier to tie it in. Now once we get to this point, just snip away the end of your loop, and then we'll just tie it off like that. And again, same tool as before. Apologies, I've drifted out of focus a little bit there. Hope that's a bit better. There's that much stuff lying around. There we go, and we're just going to give it another little teasing out, which is just going to pull all those fibres loose. We just want to stroke them down. I'm probably going to give that a little bit of a trim up too. And you can pull the top over. Find that tie-in point again, which I'm pretty happy with. There again, you want it sort of in line with where that dubbing ended. And then we can just pull that forward and tie them off. Again, just you can pull down fairly hard with that Nano silk. And snip it away. And just get it tied down, that little bit of tag end. Cool. Yep, for those paying close attention there, I have managed to snap my thread, and there's a good chance to give you a warning. Just be careful when you get up to these cone heads. Those edges of them can be kind of sharp, or at least these ones that I have are. But no matter, it's not the end of the world. The joys of tying bigger flies is you've often got room to tie them off again, as long as you're not right up at the head of the fly, which is always distressing when you think you're at the end and all of a sudden you snap your thread and you've got to try to figure out a way to get it on there again. Now, as you can see, there is a heck of a lot of stuff hanging down there, and you can leave it like that if you wish. It's just going to float back in behind it, and it's just going to add that little flashy tail behind it where, like I said at the start, you can have some crystal flash under there, or you can just leave it like that. I'm actually pretty happy with where it is there, so I don't want to muck around with it too much. I think we're just going to leave that one as is for now, but just to demonstrate, I'll usually come in and just trim it along the sides and try to follow that shape of the bunny, or that sort of, get that fishy sort of silhouette going if I can. And then for the next step, again, just be careful of that edges of that Conehead, and just make another dubbing loop and just get it to finish right up on the end of that tail where you cut it off before. And we're going to make a collar out of the same colour bunny fur. Yeah, I like to put a little bit of wax in this for these. It does make it stick just a bit better. And you don't have to do the same colour. If I seem to bring it up, most of the flies I tie, you can play with the colours that you want. I've done an olive one just before doing this as a bit of a practice. And what I'll work out, I'm going to have to do it in 2 bunches for this, but take a bit and pinch it so the tips of the fur are pretty much all in line, and trim it out again. Now there's tools you can use for this, but I like doing it this way. It's what I've gotten used to over the last, I don't know how long I've been doing these now, last year since I got shown this technique. And it's just, I don't know, I find it easy. It takes a little bit of practice. A little bit of concentration as well when you got it one finger hooked into the loop to hold it steady, another couple trying to work the deer here, but it's what it is. You want to take it doesn't matter if it's facing different ways. It's once it's all spread out. Oops, sorry about that. Knocked the camera as I grabbed the shepherd's hook tool. And you can just spread that down that dubbing loop. Just use your fingers to tease it out a bit, and just get it so that where you cut it's quite close to the thread, because it's all going to be spun around. The fact that some of this is pointing out that way, some's pointing that way, so that first bunch is actually facing and they're sticking out there, but it's all, once you spin that shepherd's hook tool, it's not a problem. You want to make sure there's enough that you're going to do plenty of wraps in, around and through there. You can really fill it up. You don't want to have gaps in between the Conehead and in between your materials. It just looks, doesn't look good. It just makes it a bit more of a complete fly. So I'd rather have too much in there that I can cut off at the end than not enough. So I'm not quite sure we've got enough there to begin with, so I'm just going to take another little clump of hair and we'll tease that down as well. And as long as they're sticking out all around about the same length, you should be on the money and be happy as Larry. There we go. So we've just filled up that with the bunny here. I'm just getting it lined up just a little bit better. And then, as per before, we'll just start spinning that using that shepherd's hook tool again. And it's just going to start teasing it around and trapping it between the two strands of thread that you've used in that loop, and just keep it going. And once you're happy with how tight it is, we're just going to use that same tool again. This is just almost looks like a wire brush wrapped, pulled out a bit. That's okay. Wrapped around some wires, and it just teases out any teases out the strands, so they stay stuck in there. And it starts giving it a bit of material to work with. And you'll pull some out, but that's okay. Like I said, that's, you know, we've put plenty in there, and it is for that reason. Right. Take our hackle pliers again, and in many ways, strangely, this is somewhat like wrapping soft hackle, in the sense that you just want to keep teasing that back so that it's all pointing that way, back down the fly. Yeah, it takes some working, but we'll get there. And at the moment, as you can see, as it pulls back, you're getting just a little bit of gap in between there, and we just want to fill that up. This is going to make just heaps and heaps of movement on the front of our fly. Oops. Sometimes the hackle pliers decide not to play ball. A bit of a nightmare. But there we go. I actually think that should be it. We do have some extra there, but like I said, that was planned. We'll just I won't be able to force it in. We'll give it a nudge. There we go. And we shall tie this in. And again, it is getting a bit harder with that edge of the cone head. Just work your way around. If you need to pull more string out, don't go that way. Go away from the cone. And that way you're not going to rub it up against the edges. Once you've got that tied in, take your scissors and you're just going to snip away the end of the dubbing loop. Sorry, it's over this side, but there we go. Alrighty. Okay, finishing it off. Ain't too many steps to this one, which is nice, but to just make sure that there's enough in there just to hold it steady. And I'll take just a little bit of glue at this stage, and just it's getting hard to see everything behind here, but just apply a very, very little bit to my thread. I'm going to use this, just wind it in, and that's all just going to settle in behind everything. Got a little bit of a drop there, but that's okay. And we'll tie it off, and you can just move that forward. Put a few wraps there behind the eye, and then we'll just tie it off. We will. I've just managed to pick up a whole lot of flash, so got rid of that, and we'll just tie off. I like to do 2 wraps, and you can put some head cement on there or UV. There we go. Relatively simple little streamer pattern. Alrighty, there we have it. One bunny leech with a Conehead. Have a give a go as always. I'd love to see what you do and how you go with it. Feel free to tag me on any social media that you happen to post a photo if you do. If you don't, I hope you enjoy it all the same, and happy tying. It is a fun pattern. I really enjoy it. Cheers.